Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the Audio Levels channel. Welcome back to another review. Today we're taking a look at the Kinera IDUN golden earphones. This is the version 2.0 and this is just more madness from Kinera. Kinera are one of my favorite companies. They've slowly been growing on me. My favorite earphone of last year was the Kinera Sculled, which was strange because it was an all balanced armature earphone, and this thing is just one of the most beautiful earphones I've ever seen, and the tuning just hits me so right, and it's all balanced armature, no dynamic driver, no EST. The other one that was my favorite was obviously the The Audio Monarch, but the one that I listen to most days is actually a Kinera earphone. The other one that I really liked as well, but only for certain types of music, was the Kinera Balder 2, and this is a wooden earpiece, and it is the craftsmanship and what Kinera do with their presentation and their finish on their earphones is incredibly impressive on their high-end stuff. This, however, is coming in, I believe, at about $170-ish. Obviously going to depend on import taxes and stuff and where you're buying it, but $170 puts it into a very competitive area, mostly because of the Tin Hi-Fi P1 are something that I think punches so far above their price point, but they do need to be driven with quite a powerful source, so you have to factor that into the purchase price. This that I found was absolutely fine for driving, but as always, I've repackaged everything after doing the listening portion of this review so that you can see what the presentation is like, and let me tell you, this one's worth it. Kinera are out of their minds with their presentation and the stuff they do. It's so mad, but it's really enjoyable. So a little bit of different looking box, loads of graphics, really cool design to it. A Fruit of Youth is always prepared. You want some of this? Okay. Make it clear, make it real on the back. You have a little graph on the back which seems to be pretty accurate to what it is. There's no sort of pronounced bass, and I would say that the bass, the mid bass, does have a slight little bump on it as well, which is good. Impedance 32 ohms, so it's a little bit stronger, and yeah, that's the outside of the box. Now let's get into the inside, because I want to show you. Thank you for choosing Kinera, crafted with elegance, evolved in perfection. So they obviously care about their presentation, and they have this bonkers fold out accordion style user manual, and they have this on the Sculled and they have it on the Balder, and it's bonkers once you get into actually reading some of this, and I would never read any of this stuff. So they give you a little bit of information about the shell designer. This is Cynthia. Integrating the elements of the goddess of youth Idun in the Nordic mythology, the tree of fruit of youth, the golden hair, the blue veil, the illusory imaginations are concrete. This is awful. The chief engineer, Aaron Yu, we don't get a picture of Aaron, but Idun has been released for more than 2 years. After that, it was on the market. It has been recognised by fans at home and abroad. It's a little bit more normal, but let's see what they say about the earphones themselves. About Idun. Idun is the goddess of youth from Isaiah. Her husband, the goddess of poetry, Bragi, the god of poetry, Bragi, the owner of the Asgard garden, in charge of rejuvenating apples. So that's what I want in a set of earphones. Somebody that is in charge of rejuvenating apples. She's the daughter of Evelyd, the dark dwarf. The most powerful. What are they doing with this? This is just so far out there. Tuning concept. So you're going to think here, the tuning concept, they're going to talk about what they were trying to achieve with the tuning of the earphone. No, they come out with youth is the door of a leaf, from the tip to the pale of the yellow leaf to a verdant one growing up in the season and finally facing the hopes and dreams of life, looking into the clear sky, facing countless flowers blooming and falling in life. I finally understood that youth is green. What the is going on? Anyway, absolute madness, usual from Kinera, but entertaining nonetheless. Let's get that out of the way. Let's get into the earphones. The earphones are stunning, just like with the Balder and the Sculled. Kinera just do some beautiful work on the earpieces. There's a few different colours for this one. This is called the black and blue version. Also have hints of gold on the inside of it there, swirled into the pattern, recessed 2-pin connector, and acrylic tip instead of something with a metal tip on the end of it. But the faceplate design is really beautiful as well. You actually see they've got this tree or something. It looks like a tree, and it's got a little like jewel in the middle of it, but it's actually underlaid under the outside of the resin, so it's not protruding out. This is completely smooth on top. It looks really cool. It's got the Kinera logo built into the roots of the trees. Just attention to detail is beautiful. A little venting port at the top there for the dynamic drivers. They are small-ish. I would say something like the Oracle is definitely going to be a little bit bigger. The Oracle, I would say, for medium ears. This I would still say is not suitable for small ears, but maybe for medium small ears you'll get away with a set of the Idun. It's a beautiful earphone. They just do such a good job, always do such a good job, Kinera, and that extends into the accessories, where they've taken a pretty generic looking case, but they've got this sort of cork-like material made to look like wood. It's a beautiful looking case, really pretty for, and a take on a generic case, and it is made for the IDUN earphones. Cable as well, cable's fantastic. It's one of these cables that you can probably pick up, well, without the adapter. You can get this sort of cable for, so I would say in the $30-40 range on AliExpress, Linsol, etc. I'll leave links to it in the description below. But with this, the Kinera, they were talking for a while about implementing their own modular system. If I take this is the The Audio Monarchs cable. It has a modular system where you pull it off. The ME100 from Shanling probably has the best of those systems, and over here was the one that sort of started it all, is the Dunu Titan cable. Just this modular system allows you to change between balanced and regular ports depending which one you want to listen to. The system for this one's super simple. You just give it a pull and it pops off, and then I can go ahead and I can take the 4.4mm balanced and I can just pop that straight on. Once it lines up, just push it on, and it's now capable of being used by 4.4mm DAP or DAC in balanced configuration. This is the headphone jack adapter, the old 1/4 inch style. This only works with the 3.5mm. It's not an adaptive thing, it's just an extension that pops on the end there if you're going to use it with a hi-fi piece of equipment, which I don't think many people would do anyway. Underneath the top you get lots of tip options. I found the stock tips to be absolutely perfect. I did, just like I do with the Skuld, prefer the Asla ones, but the regular tips that are included are very high quality as well, and you get lots of options for different sizes. So let's take them out again. And let's talk a little bit about the sound. So I've got my listening notes over here. What did I observe from listening to the Kinera IDUN Golden? Okay, so first of all, it's a neutral tuning. There's no real prominence of bass, mids, highs there. It's very neutral, very flat across the range, which is kind of fitting in with the type of earphones that have came to me in the past week. It all seems to be very neutral. So I feel like I would have noticed if there was some sort of emphasis on the bass. The bass is punchy and it's very clear and clean, and it does have a slight prominence in the mid bass. The driver's good enough to display texture and detail, but it's not the best. It's not going to display as much texture or detail as a Tin Hi-Fi P1 with its planar magnetic driver. But it's very nicely blended into the lower mids and the upper ranges of the bass. It's very cohesive. There's no bleed over, but it's very smooth transition in there. They have good clarity and spacing. When you're listening to this, I would say it's above average. Obviously, again, the P1s coming in at this price point are going to be masters of resolution and detail, but the Golden do have a very distinct like separation that puts them slightly above other earphones, and that's $150 range, like from The Audio and stuff. It was a very clear, open, and very, very good imaging, very easy to pinpoint the instrumentation. So I enjoyed that. The bass, as I said, was adequate. There was no bleed. The upper mids are pushed slightly forward, so that enabled like female vocals to sound quite prominent and in your face. I was listening to Rihanna Giddens at the purchaser's option, and she sounds absolutely fantastic on that. But if you go to more sibilant female vocals like Mariah Carey or something like that, if you're going to listen to Mariah Carey, even Adele or somebody, when they hit the higher octaves, it's verging on that sort of hotness, the upper mid-range. But with strings, it was very, very good. Upper mid-range strings, absolutely fantastic with this, and that's what created a lot of the separation and the clarity that I enjoyed in the earphone overall. Excellent treble, really, really, really good extension, and that opened up a whole lot of airiness and made for a very, very good soundstage for it. I would say soundstage, again, we're talking about the P1. The P1 have magnificent soundstage, or magnificent sort of 3D presentation. This has a more traditionally wide and deeper soundstage. It's not massive, but it is definitely above average again. And that sort of clarity, you get the prominence of the treble, creates this illusion of an open, airy sounding earphone. So that's very, very good. Overall, I would just say it is quite a natural sounding earphone. There's nothing over emphasis, that it's not a master of any one area, but it is a very competent in all areas. It's impressive the way that they tune this, but when you look at this earphone as an overall package, it really does represent good value. You get sort of interesting packaging that's exciting. It's probably the only packaging that is so bonkers and stupid that is pointless, but it's probably the only packaging that actually gets me to read it. I'm curious to see what they're going to say in the next packaging. You have the adaptive cable system, which is a real bonus for those that want to use it in balanced. It's not an overly power hungry earphone, but it does scale up quite nicely. You have lots of ear tips with it. You have a nice carry case. And the build quality, fit, finish and design of the earphones themselves is just absolutely wonderful. These are just, the attention to detail really feels like they've put some thought into it, and they've not lacked on the tuning either. So I would say it's competitive with other $150 earphones, but when you take into account good cable, good accessories and adaptive system plus the build quality, I think that's where you're getting your extra money from. So I've been terribly impressed with this, and they're just so good looking again. So Kinera, again, I can't wait to see what they're going to come out with in 2022, but this is definitely off to a good start for this year. So that's it for this review, guys. Thank you again for watching. Please go ahead and subscribe. If you're new here, we have reviews. I'm going to try and pump out reviews every 2 to 3 days this year. This is the plan, is to really ramp up the reviews, ramp up the comparisons. And if you have any suggestions, or if you've tried these yourself, please leave a comment down below, and I love the discussion. Maybe give some other folks some recommendations for different earphones that are competitive with this, and I can do head-to-head comparisons. So thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video.